5 foods that fight arthritis pain naturally, no pills needed. You know, there's something about mornings these days that feels a little different, isn't there? Maybe you've noticed it too. That stiffness in your knees when you first get out of bed, or the way your fingers seem to protest when you try to open a jar of preserves. It's like your joints have a mind of their own, whispering, or sometimes shouting, reminders that they've been working hard for you all these years. And while it's easy to reach for a pill bottle to quiet those aches, what if I told you there's another way? A way that doesn't involve swallowing anything synthetic, but instead, savoring something delicious? That's right, my friend. Today, we're talking about food, specifically 5 everyday foods that can help ease arthritis pain naturally. No prescriptions, no side effects, just Mother Nature's pantry doing what she does best. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Can a handful of ingredients really make that much difference? Well, let me tell you. When my neighbor Margaret started tweaking her diet a few years back, she went from needing help tying her shoes to tending her rose garden pain-free. And if she can do it, so can you. So let's dive in. First up, we've got a golden gem that's been used for centuries, turmeric. You've probably seen this vibrant yellow spice sitting quietly in your kitchen cabinet, right next to the cinnamon and paprika. But don't let its unassuming presence fool you. Turmeric contains a powerful compound called curcumin, which works like a fire extinguisher for inflammation. Think of arthritis pain as a tiny fire smoldering in your joints. Curcumin helps douse those flames. Now, I'll be honest, turmeric on its own isn't a miracle worker. To really get the benefits, you need to pair it with a pinch of black pepper. Sounds odd, I know, but that pepper helps your body absorb the curcumin up to 2,000 times better. Margaret swears by her sunrise tea. A cozy mug of warm water with a teaspoon of turmeric, a dash of pepper, a squeeze of lemon, and a drizzle of honey. She sips it while watching the morning news, and says it's become her daily ritual. Tastes like sunshine, she told me once. And honestly, that's a pretty good way to start the day. But maybe tea isn't your thing. No problem. You can sprinkle turmeric into scrambled eggs, stir it into soups, or even blend it into a smoothie with mango and coconut milk. The key is to make a habit, little doses, day after day. Now, let's talk about something you might already love, fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines. These swimmers are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are like lubrication for your joints. Omega-3s don't just reduce inflammation. They also help protect the cartilage that cushions your bones. My buddy Jim, who's been dealing with arthritis in his hands for years, started eating salmon twice a week. At first, he grumbled about the cost. I'm on a fixed income, you know. But then he discovered frozen fillets. Just as nutritious, half the price, and ready to bake in 20 minutes. Jim's favorite recipe. He lines a baking sheet with foil, lays down the salmon, sprinkles it with garlic powder and dill, then squeezes a little lemon over the top. While it's in the oven, he steams some broccoli or green beans. Feels like a fancy restaurant meal, he says. And my hands don't ache afterward like they used to with red meat. And if fish isn't your cup of tea, don't worry. Walnuts and flax seeds are great plant-based sources of omega-3s. Toss a handful into oatmeal or yogurt, and you're good to go. Now, I know what you're thinking. 2 foods down, 3 to go. But before we move on, let's pause for a second. Because here's the thing. This isn't about overhauling your entire diet overnight. It's about small, sustainable changes. Maybe this week, you try adding turmeric to your eggs. Next week, swap that pork chop for a salmon fillet. Tiny steps add up. Speaking of steps, let's save the next 3 foods for our next chat. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for what's coming, especially the one that's probably sitting in your fridge right now, waiting to work its magic. But for now, why not put the kettle on and try Margaret's sunrise tea? Your joints might just thank you for it. You know, sometimes the best solutions are hiding in plain sight. Take that jar of jam in your fridge, for instance. Strawberry, raspberry, maybe even a homemade batch from last summer's harvest. Sweet, tangy, and perfect on toast. But what if I told you those berries could do more than just delight your taste buds? Let's talk about our third food, berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, any of those colorful little gems will do. They're like nature's candy, but instead of a sugar crash, they deliver a powerhouse of antioxidants. Antioxidants are your body's cleanup crew. They swoop in to neutralize free radicals, those pesky molecules that contribute to inflammation and joint damage. Think of it like rust on a bicycle chain. Antioxidants help scrub it away, so everything moves smoothly again. My cousin Edna, who's had arthritis in her hips for years, started adding a handful of frozen blueberries to her morning oatmeal. At first, it was just for the flavor, but after a few weeks, she noticed she could walk her terrier, Max, around the block without needing to stop and rest. "I'm not saying it's a miracle," she told me, "but I'll take any excuse to eat more pie filling for breakfast." And here's the thing. Frozen berries work just as well as fresh ones. They're often cheaper, too, and available year-round. Toss them into smoothies, stir them into yogurt, or let them thaw and drizzle over a slice of angel food cake. Life's too short to skip dessert, right? Now, let's move on to something you might not expect: leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard. Those hearty, deep green veggies your grandma always told you to eat. Turns out, she was onto something. These greens are loaded with vitamin K, which helps regulate calcium in your body. Too much calcium in the wrong places can lead to stiff joints, so keeping it in check is key. But I get it, kale can taste a bit enthusiastic. My friend Walter used a joke that eating it felt like chewing on a lawnmower bag. Then his daughter showed him a trick: saute it with garlic and a splash of olive oil. Turns out, everything's better with garlic, he laughed. Now, he mixes a handful of chopped spinach into his scrambled eggs every morning. Doesn't taste like much, he admits, but my knees sure notice when I skip it. If raw greens aren't your style, try blending them into a soup. A creamy potato and kale soup, for example, hides the bitterness beautifully. Or bake them into a quiche with a flaky crust. The goal isn't to turn you into a rabbit. It's to find ways to make these greens work for you. Now, I can almost hear some of you saying, "But what about the fifth food? You promised 5. Oh, don't worry, we'll get there. But here's what matters right now. These foods aren't magic pills. They're tools. Tools you can use, bit by bit, to rebuild your relationship with your body. Maybe today you stir berries into your cereal. Next week, you saute some spinach. Small steps, my friend. Small steps. And speaking of steps, let's not forget the importance of how you eat these foods. It's not just about what's on your plate, but how you savor it. Take your time. Sit down. Enjoy the colors, the textures, the memories they might stir up. After all, food isn't just fuel, it's a story. A story of gardens and grocery runs, of shared meals and quiet mornings. And when you eat with that kind of intention, healing becomes part of the process, too. So go ahead, raid your freezer for those berries, or dig out that dusty spice jar of turmeric. Experiment. Laugh at the flops. Celebrate the wins. And when you're ready, we'll tackle that fifth and final food together. Hint, it's probably already in your pantry, waiting to surprise you. You know, there's something comforting about a pantry, isn't there? Those shelves lined with familiar jars, cans, and spices, like old friends waiting to lend a hand. And speaking of old friends, let's talk about that fifth food I mentioned earlier. The one hiding in plain sight, maybe right between your cinnamon and that half-used bag of rice. I'm talking about ginger. Yes, that knobby, aromatic root you've probably grated into stir-fries or steeped in hot water when your stomach felt queasy. But here's the kicker. Ginger isn't just for settling your tummy. It's a secret weapon against arthritis pain. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols, nature's little firefighters, that tackle inflammation with gusto. Think of them as tiny warriors soothing those hot, achy joints from the inside out. My Aunt Ruth, who's danced with arthritis in her shoulders for decades, swears by her ginger glow tea. She slices fresh ginger thin, simmers it in water with a touch of honey, and sips it slowly while flipping through her crossword puzzles. It's like a warm hug for my bones, she says. And honestly, who couldn't use one of those? Now, fresh ginger can pack a peppery punch, but don't let that deter you. If the zing feels too bold, try grating a small piece into soups, stews, or even oatmeal. It pairs surprisingly well with sweet flavors, like a dash in apple crisp or baked into molasses cookies. And if you're feeling adventurous, blend a thumb-sized chunk into a smoothie with spinach, frozen pineapple, and a splash of coconut water. You'll hardly taste the ginger, but your joints might just throw a thank you party. But here's a question I often get. What if I don't have fresh ginger? No worries. Powdered ginger works too. Sprinkle it into pancake batter, stir it into marinades, or mix it with a bit of honey for a quick glaze on roasted carrots. The key is consistency. A little bit every day adds up, like drops filling a bucket. Now let's pause for a moment, because here's the beautiful thing about these 5 foods. They're not meant to work in isolation. Imagine them as a team, each playing their part. Turmeric tames inflammation. Fatty fish lubricates your joints. Berries scrub away damage. Leafy greens keep calcium in check. And ginger turns down the heat. Together, they're like a symphony for your body. Take my friend Harold, for example. He started small, adding blueberries to his cereal, sipping turmeric tea. But over time, he began combining them. His favorite lunch? A spinach salad topped with grilled salmon, a handful of berries, and a ginger-infused vinaigrette. It's not just a meal, he told me. It's my daily defense strategy. And sure enough, his morning stiffness eased up enough that he finally joined his grandkids on their weekend bike rides. I'm not winning any races, he chuckled, but I'm back in the game. Of course, life isn't about perfection. Some days, you'll forget the ginger or skip the greens. That's okay. This isn't a rigid diet, it's a toolbox. Maybe today you stir turmeric into your soup. Tomorrow, you'll bake salmon with a ginger glaze. The point is to keep showing up, one bite at a time. And while we're here, let's address the elephant in the room. What about the foods I should avoid? You've probably heard whispers about cutting out sugar, processed snacks, or fried foods. And yes, those can fan the flames of inflammation. But instead of focusing on what to remove, let's focus on what to add. When you fill your plate with these 5 foods, there's less room and less craving for the stuff that doesn't serve you. It's like planting a garden. The more flowers you nurture, the fewer weeds can take root. So go ahead, rummage through that pantry, experiment with flavors, and don't be afraid to play with your food. After all, eating well isn't a chore. It's a celebration of what your body can do when you give it the right tools. And when you're ready, we'll tie all these threads together into a plan that's as unique as you are. Because the best part of this journey, it's just getting started. You know, there's a saying I've always loved. Asterisk, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Asterisk, it's a gentle reminder that it's never too late to start nurturing yourself. And that's exactly what we've been talking about these last few days. 5 foods, 5 tools, 5 ways to whisper kindness to your joints, one bite at a time. But before we wrap up, let's bring it all together, not as a strict rulebook, but as a roadmap for the journey ahead. Think back to where we began, turmeric, that golden spice humming with anti-inflammatory magic. Then fatty fish, swimming with omega-3s to keep your joints supple. Berries, bursting with antioxidants to scrub away the wear and tear. Leafy greens, standing guard against stiffness. And finally, ginger, that fiery root turning down the heat on pain. Together, they're not just ingredients, they're allies. Allies that work best when you invite them to your table regularly, like old friends dropping by for coffee. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds wonderful, but what if I slip up? What if I have a busy week and grab a frozen pizza instead? Let me tell you a story about my friend Irene. She's 72, loves line dancing, and has arthritis in her hips. When she first heard about these foods, she went all in. Turmeric smoothies, salmon salads, the works. But one night, her grandkids talked her into ordering pepperoni pizza. She woke up the next morning feeling guilty, convinced she'd undone all her progress. But here's the twist. Her joints felt no worse than usual. In fact, they felt better, because she'd spent weeks nourishing them with those 5 foods. Turns out, she told me, my body's forgiving. It just wants me to keep trying. That's the heart of it, isn't it? Progress, not perfection. Maybe you'll forget the ginger one day, or skip the greens. That's okay. This isn't about rigid rules. It's about building habits that stick. Start with one meal, one snack, one moment where you choose to say, I'm worth this. And here's something else to remember. Food is just one piece of the puzzle. Pair these ingredients with movement, gentle stretches, a stroll around the block, even swaying to your favorite song while washing dishes. Your joints thrive on rhythm, on balance, on life. My neighbor Margaret, the one with the sunrise tea, she pairs her turmeric ritual with 5 minutes of morning stretches. Nothing fancy, she says. Just reaching for the sky, like I'm trying to touch the clouds. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried any of these foods? Maybe you've discovered a new recipe, or found that berries really do make your mornings brighter. Share your stories in the comments below. Your wins, your experiments, even your kitchen mishaps. I once added so much ginger to a stir-fry. My husband thought it was a practical joke. This isn't just my journey, it's ours. And when we share what works, we all grow stronger. Before we go, let's take a quiet moment to celebrate. You've just spent time learning how to care for yourself, and that's no small thing. In a world that often tells us to slow down as we age, you're choosing to lean in, to listen to your body, to give it what it needs to thrive. That's courage. That's hope. That's living. If this resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. We're here to keep these conversations going, to explore more ways to savor life after 60 with joy and vitality. And who knows, maybe next time, we'll dive into how to turn your garden into a pain-fighting pantry, or share heartwarming stories of folks who've rediscovered their spark. But for now, I'll leave you with this. You've got this. Every small choice matters. Every sprinkle of turmeric, every bite of salmon, every sip of ginger tea. It all adds up. So here's to you, my friend. Here's to mornings with less stiffness, afternoons with more laughter, and evenings filled with the quiet pride of knowing you're showing up for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep shining. And remember, your best days aren't behind you. They're right here, waiting to be savored. Gentle music swells as the screen fades to a warm, sunlit kitchen table set with a bowl of berries, a steaming mug of tea, and a handwritten note. You're worth it.